Go ahead.
Okay, hello. Today I'm going to be presenting psychedelics and their effects on PTSD. First, let me state my main question I'm going to be answering throughout this presentation. Why does the system continue to outlaw psychedelics even though we know their positive impact on PTSD? Before answering this question, let me quickly introduce PTSD. PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, is a mental health disorder triggered by a traumatic event. Some symptoms include being stressed by places or people that remind you of the event, and recurring nightmares about the event. Now, here's the problem with PTSD. 10% of people will suffer from PTSD in their life. 1/4 of veterans in America suffer from PTSD, 22 of which commit suicide daily. Simple things become difficult and can cause re-traumatization, such as getting stuck in an elevator with too many people. For others will be like, oh, this is a little uncomfortable. It may cause a whole entire mental breakdown for someone with PTSD. Now let me introduce psychedelics and their effects on PTSD. A psychedelic is a drug that produces apparent expansion of consciousness and hallucinations. And in just 3 to 4 sessions of using psychedelics, we see a 72% success rate of easing the symptoms of PTSD. And it's not that dangerous. Psilocybin in shrooms is marked as the least dangerous drug. MDMA, out of the 1,775 people, only 1 severe adverse reaction and no long-term negative effects. And it's very difficult to overdose. Psilocybin, we know no physical overdose of, and it's very hard to become addicted. Now let me introduce some stories from a leading expert in the field. Her home was violently robbed. She was knocked unconscious. She didn't remember it, but she would always be crying because she knew how horrible of an experience it must have been. And so she tried psychopharmacological treatment, which is using antipsychotics or antidepressants and talk therapy, and then was cured by MDMA therapy. MDMA is a type of ecstasy. Now she travels the world speaking on the benefits of MDMA. Now let me introduce the controversy holding this back. This is the perspective bias caused by misleading news articles. During the war on drugs we saw misleading news articles. Once MDMA was accused for burning holes in your brain. And this war on drugs caused all street drugs to be put in a group. While some are addictive, like cocaine, and others can actually be really helpful if used in the right setting. Now I'm going to introduce the solution to this. I believe to reduce any risk of using psychedelics, they may only be used in the presence of a trained psychologist so that we remove the problem of addiction. And then we increase the media about drugs, showing the good and debunking the bad that has been put out there. And I think we also need to use prestigious institutions to start doing more research, just like Johns Hopkins and Harvard has. Now, throughout this presentation, I've shown you why psychedelics continue to be outlawed, even though we see them being so helpful with dealing with PTSD. And I hope you understand how important it is that we make them legal.
Okay.